Okay, I think things look good on my end, so we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Coleman, and I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm here today on behalf of the Insurance, Technology, and Services Cluster of Columbia, also known as ITSCOLA, to welcome you to our second Lunch and Learn featuring our two highly recognized serial entrepreneurs. A quick brief word about ITSCOLA. Our organization is comprised of insurance-related businesses here in the Columbia area. We're all working together to promote the growth and development of our local companies, to recruit, retain, and develop top industry talent and leadership, and to make Columbia, South Carolina a nationwide destination for the insurance industry. And on behalf of ITSCOLA, we're all very excited to have you all join us today for our second Lunch and Learn session. With that, it's my privilege to turn the program over now to our moderator and one of the esteemed members of our talent committee, Ms. Ferris Jones, Senior Data Scientist and Business Intelligence Analyst at Verisk. So welcome, Ferris.
Thank you, Ryan. And thank you to everyone here on the call today just for listening in, for joining along in our mission of nurturing a growing workforce here in Columbia. We welcome you. We have a very special pair of entrepreneur panelists with us today. I am more than excited to introduce you all to two highly esteemed serial entrepreneurs, the first being Mr. Sam McGuckin, who spent his first 22 years in the insurance technology industry at PMSC. He then joined Duck Creek Technologies in 2006 and was instrumental in building out their delivery and sales organizations. After the sale of Duck Creek to Accenture, Sam founded T-Cube, a systems integration firm that focused on Duck Creek software consulting. He grew T-Cube to 350 employees before selling to Capgemini in 2017. He is now back at it again. He has founded Uvant, which is a new Columbia-based Insurtech solutions provider, and he did that just this past January. And our second esteemed panelist is Sanjeev Chowdhury. He is the CEO of Gigaforce Incorporated, a Silicon Valley-based Insurtech startup. Sanjeev has been a serial entrepreneur with prior exits to public and private companies. He was the founder of InfoStep, a business intelligence company and partner. He is the head insurance practice at Sama Technology, and he's also served as a mentor and an advisor to various startups and VC firms, including Avanta Ventures, Silicon Valley Insurance Accelerators, Elterp, and many others. Sanjeev is also a visiting faculty to the University of Cincinnati. So, in the hopes of gaining as much knowledge from these two that we can today, I want to go ahead and just jump right into our questions. So the first question I have for you guys today is, it seems like many people have great innovative ideas, maybe ideas that are seeds for a startup in their mind, but nothing really ever comes of it. So my question for you guys is, at what point did you realize that you really had a business opportunity on your hands, and how did you act on it and will it into existence? So Sanjeev, I'll start with you.
Okay. I thought we should give the opportunity to Sam, he being the senior one. But I'll leave it up to you. Sam, if you want to go first, that's fine. If I can, I'm okay either way.
Oh, no, you go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so, as you mentioned, right, the being an entrepreneur is a addiction, actually. So once you have one success, right, or even a failure, right, you never have a failure. You're learning, right? You're there for learning there. So I would say first time when you start, invariably, you have some burning desire to do something different, or you have. It's not that you know all the bits and pieces, all the soup to nut part of it. You don't know what you don't like. You'd have less information of what all you don't know. But by the time you reach the second one, at least you know what other things needs to fill in there. So invariably, in the first one, it could be just, as I said, it could be just a desire to change the world. It could be a family influence here, or people will just do it for a hunger or fame. The first time, it could be any reason there. But by the time you have a logical conclusion on the first one, that's the second time you get a little bit more educated and more learned, and then you take it a little bit more cautious approach. And I can tell you, my first one was, I just wanted to do something. I think that was the thing which forced me to do. Okay, and the next time when I did quite a bit of homework, okay, and I put all the pieces together and took a lot of advice from a lot of people, and before I really jumped into that part. And I would say probably if I took like on a scale of 1 to 5, if I took 5 times for the first like to reach a stage in the first startup, the second time it was 1 actually. So it was, I could condense all the things together and do it at a much faster speed at the second at the time of the second startup. That's my journey. I would like to hear from Sam what is, what drives him and what is keeping him up and running.
Thank you, Sanjeev. So when Sanjeev says I'm the senior one, I think what he means is I'm the older one. So I actually started my entrepreneurial journey very late after working at Duck Creek. I've been at Policy Management Systems for 22 years and then joined Duck Creek, and I built their service delivery department. And then when we sold that to Accenture, I realized that I knew how to do that. I could build a service delivery organization. There was a lot of demand for it in the marketplace. And I really was tired of being an employee. And so that's really what prompted me to do it. My advice to other people is don't wait. Get out now and take your idea and try to do something with it. An interesting thing that has happened with me is after we founded T-Cube in 2013 and sold it in 2017, and then we started Yovant this past January. There's a lot more confidence in getting the company up and running. So you sort of build skills, and you can anticipate some of the challenges you're going to face with customer acquisition and capital management and all those sorts of things. So I guess what I'm saying is, just like anything else, practice makes perfect, or at least makes better. So my advice is, if you've got an idea, don't wait until you're in your late 40s to get up and try it out. Do it now. In fact, I tell young people in my company, get out and do your idea before you have a wife, a kid, and a mortgage, because that makes it much harder to take the risk.
Definitely. That's interesting. It sounds like you both built a lot of momentum as you went. So what was your mission starting out for your companies? And how did that mission kind of change and evolve as your company grew? Sam, we'll start with you this time.
Okay. So, T-Cube is really a systems integrator, a company that, that helps, in our case, insurance companies with their technology needs. So we implement their large scale systems. So an example would be, we would go to Geico and help them put up a policy administration system. These projects are very big. So, there could be 30, 40, 50, 100 people working on the project for a year, 2 years, 3 years, for a long time. And so our mission was to be absolutely the best at it. In fact, when I started T-Cube, I drew a little Boston consulting chart, and I looked at the market of systems integrators like us, our competition, and divided them into the really big guys like, Capgemini and Accenture, and I put them across the top. And then down the right side, the right axis, I put all the low-cost offshore providers. And I figured out we wanted to be away from both those. We didn't want to compete, to be the cheapest, and we didn't want to compete with Accenture because of the massive resources they have to sell. So we went into the middle market, the insurance industry, companies smaller than Geico, and we built our brand in there. And our mission was to be the absolute best, to get every single customer to be a reference for us. And that worked extremely well. In fact, we became the absolute preferred provider of implementation services with our partner, Duck Creek. So, that was it. we actually had no intent of selling the company when we started it. We never imagined anybody would want to buy it. And so, it's quite fascinating to us. 15 companies sent us expressions of interest at the end. But so in short, that was our mission.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Sam. Sanjeev?
Right. So, my background is little different here. And one of the thing in any business is, right, you have to be smart on your feet. If at any point of time you cannot get complacent and you say you know everything. Okay. Uh, when I started my first company, my background was, I started my career very early on, like in a company that used to build product actually, and we used to build even at that point of time. This is pre-internet days. I worked on a system to have the email kind of thing, like, or we worked on another second product did was a second project I did was equivalent of Swift, where we were trying to do the money transfer, like for the one of the corporate bank or central bank. So that was my background from there, and that had the desire that we have to build. I want to build a product company. And then we realized building product is one thing and selling is another thing. I think that was a like hard awakening there. And as I said, that was kind of a learning from our perspective. When we started the first company, we struggled. We tried to do bootstrap. We had a services arm as well as a product arm, and that was tough. That was really tough, and we couldn't do justice to either of those two those two arms there. And then at some point of time that you realize it, right, the let's feed the arm which is feeding. Actually, let's nurture the arm that is feeding. And then we totally became a kind of a services company, and we were doing pretty well in the services too, like as Sam mentioned, right, with Duck Creek, and there was some specialization. We used to work with a company called Business Objects, which was acquired by SAP eventually, and we were the probably number one customer support people for those company and all that. So we did, as I said, we did very excellent job. But again, the origin of the company was product company, okay, but we transformed it to the service company eventually. But one thing which I would probably say from all the entrepreneurs when they are thinking, right, whether you go for services company or you go for a product company, you need to have a patience actually, and it takes time before the market recognizes you. Okay. And you get well established, as Sam said, you know uh, like from where they started, right, and suddenly they got 15 expression of interest. Once you start hitting some big guys, you will get noticed and you will get those offers anyway. Okay. So um, you need to have a patience. I think among the founders, I would say one of the critical thing is you just cannot run out of patience. Some companies get lucky, they get sold in 18 months. Some companies take 6-7 years, but then they have a big exit. But it's important to stick together there. I think that's what the advice I give it to all entrepreneurs, right, as a team. Okay, you cannot run out of patience. That's important. And one of the things that I always like to see, maybe this is Silicon Valley flavor or whatever, right, is whenever you start a company, you have to have, this is my opinion actually, and you have to have exit in mind. Whether the exit could be an IPO, that's an exit, right? Or could be acquisition. Okay. You cannot predefine everything there. But on the other side of it, it is important to have what is your milestone when you will go to the next level there, or it could be an exit. And as I said, this can change. And you have to be smart enough, okay, as you grow the company. You can, like, you may start with one and you may end up building another product which might be a big hit in the market. So you cannot just stick to one thing, but you have to just feed to the market. You have to sell what the customer wants to buy, not what you have it and you try to sell it there. Yeah, that's my opinion on this.
Right. Thank you, Sanjeev. So we've touched on this a little bit in the first and second questions. But what do you both think when starting a company, what prepared you for being an entrepreneur the most in your career? And what things did you have to learn just as you went? Sanjeev, I'll start with you this time.
Okay. So I think in terms of learning part, right? I think important thing for any company is to make money. I think that's very important there. Okay. And also from the career preparation perspective, right? You have to lead from front. Okay, that is very important for any for any the founders of the companies and all. Okay, I think these are the two main things which I would probably say, which help me along to bring forward my cause there. I'll leave it to Sam. Actually, what is his opinion on that? Yeah.
Ferris, I'm sorry, would you repeat the question?
Sure thing. So what about starting a company do you think your career prior to prepared you the most? And what things do you think you had to learn as you went?
Yeah, so I think when I was at Dr. Rick, it was a small, scrappy startup, a product company like Sanjeev versus a service company like my current company. And, we always had cash flow problems. And so I had to quickly figure out how to go out and drive the top line, grow the business financially. So we had the funding to build the product. And so that sort of scrappiness, do whatever it takes to generate revenue. I think, we sort of learned on the job. And I had a great mentor, Steve Hall, who was the former CEO of Colonial and other companies. He was a great mentor that helped me sort of see things. It's a journey. He always used to say, "Look, it's a journey." Every time we were in the ditch, on some issue, he would say, "It's a journey. We'll get through it." So those sorts of things I learned, before going out on my own. After going out on my own, the first thing I learned that there are 10 jobs that you have to do when you start a company. Everything from securing real estate, insurance, to run your business, hiring people, worrying about HR, payroll. But there's only one thing that you absolutely need to do, and that's sell. So I always say that jobs 1 through 9 are selling. Job 10 is all that other stuff. And you need to push it down and get it behind you and focus on the top line, because without the top line, all the other stuff does not matter. And I think, just in general, kind of learning some of the financial engineering that goes on. One of the things that kills small businesses is growth. We would do the work. We'd put 30 people on a client in January. So they work all January. We carry their payroll. At the end of January, we send out an invoice. And because we're dealing with insurance companies, they drag their feet about paying. They call it aggressive commercial management. I call it slow paying. And so it would be several months before the cash would come in. And when you're growing, at a big geometric rate like that, you've got to be careful about managing cash flow. So those are some of the things I think we learned along the way. And I guess the last thing I would say is that I learned, and I think a lot of other people already knew this, I learned the importance of corporate culture. And, Ferris, you were there and part of that culture. And so I think, it's so important to build a culture of respect and opportunity and get everybody excited about the mission. I think that made all the difference for us.
Yeah. If I could add a couple of things here, and I think Sam, you brought a very good point of mentorship here. Okay. I've been very lucky to have a mentor, like one of the Silicon Valley Hall of Famer called Mr. Ken Coleman. And I think those mentorship helps a lot. I think that's a very significant part of your success. And is a true advisor, right? He or she will be the one who will tell you what are the things around it that you might miss it, because as a part of the entrepreneur, you remain very focused, but sometimes you can miss some of the obvious things there. So it's important to have the mentor part of it in your life there. And the second thing from what really helped me was from education perspective. Like I was a trained engineer, okay, and what also really helped me to have an exposure of the MBA part of it, that gave me a different perspective to how to look at the things differently. I think it becomes very important when when you try to link the technology to business part of it, okay, that way you don't get drifted. Actually, a lot of time you also know how to control people, because a lot of engineers, a lot of scientists, they like to do what they want to do, okay, because that's their passion and other things and all that. But at the end of the day, if it is not commercially viable, it's just a matter of time when you will crumble. So coming to Sam's point here, right, you have to have a very keen eye on the financials part. And I totally agree with him. 1 to 9 is all earn money, rest all is the 10th and 10th onwards and all that. So I think from any company to succeed, it is very important to have a good eye on the financials part. And that's personally I felt which really helped me going to the B school here.
Right. Thank you guys. I love that you both touched on mentorship, because that's, I mean, in my mind at least, a way to really learn from an experience that you didn't necessarily ever have. So it's a really great thing to have. So on that note, in your own experience, or maybe with another entrepreneur that you've known, what do you think are some of the most important responsibilities and characteristics that drive success with entrepreneurship? Sam, I'll start with you this time.
So, I think part of this is back to that mentorship thing. I mean, I consider myself incredibly lucky to have had such a great mentor who was very patient with some of my rough edges, some of which maybe have smoothed out, others still there. But I would say when I was at the incubator on Laurel Street, I sat on, I used to call it the startup panel, what's the name of that TV show with Mr. Wonderful? Anyway, I would listen to a lot of these startup companies pitch their ideas, and I was struck by how in love they were with their product, whether it was and I'm not picking on any particular idea, whether it was a vending machine that dispensed skateboards or whatever the idea was. I was struck by how the entire presentation was about how great the product was. And I would advise people to be less in love with the product and more in love with the business, right? Because if your customers don't love the product as much as you do, then there's this sort of rub. And it's I think much smarter to be in love with the business and let the customer guide you to what the product ought to look like. I'm going to give one example that is close to my heart right now. My wife and I are helping one of her sisters with a food truck business, of all things. And I notice that she's struggling because she's in love with the particular thing that she's trying to sell, which is sort of these egg roll type things. They're very difficult to make, and they taste wonderful. But what I advised her is to be less enamored of the product and more of the business of having a food truck and selling something. And if somebody wants to buy hamburgers, then sell hamburgers. So this is my advice, and I'm going to tie it back to the mentor thing. No mentor wants to mentor somebody who is not coachable. So you got to the first thing to do is not be in love with your product, but be open to improvements to your product. And the second thing is to be coachable, because when my mentor gave me advice, and he gave me a lot of it, I could stop that advice by kind of going, well, why do you say that, right? So get rid of the thin skin and look at it as a journey. Look at it as a nugget that they're giving you to kind of improve either your own style or maybe your product.
Nice. Thank you, Sam. Sandeep, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think two things I'll mention here. One is, I would say the never give up, persistence, actually, that's matter a lot, actually. And, as Sam said, you have to be a little bit thick-skinned. You should be ready to, if somebody says no, you should be able to, find a way to make things turn around. And I'll give you one example here, which is probably in my past life, probably the biggest deal that I had. And, I don't mind mentioning the name of the companies and all that. That's fine. So as I was telling you, we started doing, we had a product and we were trying to do services, right? And as to bootstrap the product company. And and I was trying to sell the product to one of the customer support from Business Objects, actually. So uh, well, as I said, we were pretty good in customer support. Okay, so to an extent, this company's elite team couldn't solve the problem that our team solved it in 2 hours. Okay, we were that good. It happened 3 times, and then finally I got a call from the customer support vice president. He says, what does your team has it and I don't have it, right? They're elite, like elite, and their customers are paying arm and a leg to have us, and we are not able to solve the problem for 6 weeks, and you guys crack the problem in 2 hours. Anyway, that was first interaction. The second interaction, he heard about us again. And then he says, okay, you know what? Um, I will introduce you to my senior director. Why don't you talk to him? And the senior director was, I was trying to sell him my product, and so, and this guy says, he just wanted to shake me off. He says, okay, you know what, Sanjeev, it is good, but my interest is something else. Okay, it was very obvious that he had no interest what his VP wanted him to do it. Okay, because this guy has his own priorities to do it. Okay, and then I said, okay, what pain point that you're trying to solve? He says, I'm trying to solve like an extra pain point here. And I just flipped it on the ground. I was trying to sell the product there and sold him the services, and it was the biggest services sale I ever did there. Okay, so I personally feel here, right, you have to be very smart, you have to be very persistent. Okay, to an extent, when I used to call the guy won't pick up my phone. Okay, and I used to use different phone numbers to call him, and finally I'll get him. He was a nice guy. When he comes on the call, he was like, it was all good discussion and all that, but I can totally understand from his perspective. But I think, as I said, it's important to see what the customer pain point is and how do you solve that part of it. And when we really solve this problem, I tell you, like, I made a lot of money on this particular thing, which I was not even intending to sell it. Okay, but again, you have to be very smart on your feet, as I said, but you have to be very persistent. I think that's one thing which I would probably say, like for any entrepreneurs, like, don't give up, right? There's always, and have a thick skin there. And from the mentor perspective, one more thing which I would probably before I started like my current company, and 2.5 years I was just doing advisory to a lot of startups and all that, and a couple of them have done really well. And one thing which I kept always in my mind, as an advisor, you can tell the CEOs to do what they should be doing it, but don't take it too personal if they don't do it. Okay, because they know it better. They're in the weeds. They know what works in their environment. Okay, yes, there's definitely, they have to see you're coachable. It's like, you just can't ignore it. But also, as an advisor, you have to be, at least give them a little bit of leeway. Okay, yeah, if I'm giving 5 advices, he picks up the 2 or 3 which is implementable. Just because I'm outside, I may not know all the situation there, but that kind of a relationship that you have with your mentor, where you can trust him and he can trust you. If he's giving you advice, he has to get that impression that, yeah, you're listening it, okay, and you're implementing it. Otherwise, it doesn't go anywhere there. So I think it has to be balanced, done both at the CEO as well as the advisor level there.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I love the themes of mentorship and coachability and just perseverance in general surfacing here. My next question for you is a fun one. So it's no secret that starting a company is a very difficult, highly stressful process. So what are some of the ways that you guys implement to manage your own stress and keep your mind healthy when things get tough? Sanjeev, I'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I personally feel, it is not only for your own mental status, but also the team around you. You have to have another passion in life. Okay, I have seen the CEOs, taking company downstreams if they have no other life. Okay, all they do is work and they have no other way to exit that. And then only thing they do it is just focus on their goal, which may not be the goal for everybody in the company. Like, for example, you own 60-70% of the company as a founder of the company, or maybe 30-40%. Your employee may not have that kind of stake in the company. He may do it, he may not do it. But the other person, just because he's not doing it, is trying to balance his life for various other things. So it is important to have some passion. Could it be, humanitarian ground? Could it be non-NGO or like non-profit or whatever it is, right? You have to have some kind, or maybe, I think, like, I've seen good people, I can see Sam having guitar on the back and all that. I can totally see there's a good balance he's trying to maintain it there. I think that is very important there. And other thing which probably I would say, if you keep focus as a company, as a goal, I think that is good. Okay, do the right things. I think that is very important so that you don't run into issues of there's no shortcuts there. And invariably, if you take shortcuts, it's a matter of time when you get caught and you get shorted out. Okay, so I think that is probably I would say is another thing. And I would say don't get discouraged with the if the rejection or the, and sometimes it happens. You had a you have a project going on, it is going well, and suddenly the project stop. It may not be your fault, the financial situation of the company that you're working for, or there could be 1,000 other reasons, right? The door got closed. But have a faith, right? If one door closes, the other door will open. I think that's what probably I would say, keep you going forward there, and don't stress out. I think that's important. You only have one life here.
Right. Love that. Thank you. Sam?
Well, Ferris, I'm in the room where I relieve stress, and this is how I do it right here. Yeah. I imagine that I am Eddie Van Halen reincarnated. And just as information, my son is a musician, and he tells me that I absolutely made the right career choice when I did not go into music.
Funny.
Yeah, I know. He being a professional, I think he knows it better, I guess.
Yeah,
But you know,
he's my musical mentor, and he said, get into software.
Right. Well, thanks, guys. Glad you're managing your stress so well with music and other hobbies is always good.
Yes.
So we're getting into our last few questions here. I just have 3 more for you guys. The first one being, maybe this could help someone on the call right now, but what do you look for most in an employee when you're hiring for your startups? And Sam, I'll start with you this time.
Well, actually, Ferris, people like you is what we look for, as you well know. I think people with a demonstrated ability and desire to learn, right? Because we're not in manufacturing, we're in a knowledge economy type business. And so it's all about constantly learning and building skills, and technology is always changing. So we look for people that have first a proven ability to learn, right? University. And second, a passion for learning, because if you stop, if you kind of treat, university as the end of learning, then you're done growing, right? And so we want people that, one day want to run the company. And so I think that, a high energy level, good teaming skills, because we're constantly forming teams to go work on, let's say, a project at Geico or State Farm or something. And then maybe a year later, that team disbands and a different team forms up. So you got to be able to, or you got to be able to work well with other people, right? Collaborate, kind of keep the team goals in mind, try to be less self-focused. So team building, positive attitude, demonstrated willingness or desire to learn. Those are probably key things we look for. And by the way, we're not even so much looking for the employees to have a specific set of skills, because they might be done learning, and those skills are very static. We want the person that has the demonstrated ability to learn, and then we'll provide the training.
Nice. Thank you, Sam. Valuable advice for people looking to work for startups like these. Sanjeev, what do you think? What do you look for when you're hiring here?
Right. So, there's just tagging what Sam mentioned here, right? It says when you hire an employee, you hire for a potential. Where you hire a contractor, you hire for whether he can do the job tomorrow or not, okay, or today or not. So for an employee, when you're hiring it doesn't matter whether he can do the job tomorrow, but as long as this person has the desire to learn, okay, I think that's very important. The second thing I would say, I would probably quote Reed Hastings, those who know the Netflix CEO. Okay, he has a famous quote there. He says, "It's better to hire above average person, okay, with the right aptitude, the right attitude, okay, than hire a brilliant jerk." Okay, so I think that is another thing which you have to watch out for, when you're hiring somebody there. When you're doing an early stage startup, right, it is very important to hire the first 10 people very carefully, because that will pretty much set the tone for the company. Okay, you cannot hire everybody, one has to realize it, but the first 10 hires you have to have an active role in the hiring part of it. I would say probably that's another thing. And I hate to quote it, but Mr. Elon Musk, right, I have friends who work at Tesla and all. Okay, and when they recruit anybody, they tell very clearly, if you are at Tesla, or people used to say about Steve Jobs at Apple too, you don't have a second life. Okay, people have to know, when you're going for a startup, potentially that maybe you're the only life. Okay, so you should be ready for that. Okay, for a startup company, I would say. And like, and you also have to see, people don't snap under pressure, especially for a startup. Okay, there would be a time when you will work almost like 48 hours nonstop. Okay, and there would be a time when you did everything and the customer doesn't even look at it, right? So you should not get disappointed and move, like learn from there and move on to that part of it. I think that's where people, there should not be any meltdown, and you have to see like how strong mentally they are. Okay, from the startup perspective, and I'm saying from the from the industry that we are coming from. Okay. um, Another important thing for any company, right? It's important to see how creative this person can be, okay, in the relevant field. Okay, so I think it's important, a cross-functional, the cross-trained person or coming from the cross industry. That is good, but it is important to see whether the person can really conceive or at least give some creative ideas, okay, which could be reflective in your industry. That's how you bring the innovation to any industry, I would say. Okay, so these are some of the things, attributes that you see when you hire a startups, like software startup that we used to work and we work and also. Anyway, that would be my criteria of hiring some people in the startup stage. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's some fantastic insight into what you guys look for. I have one last kind of meaty question for you guys, and then after that, I'm just going to ask you to leave us with some advice. But for now, for our last question, have you ever turned down a potential client, investor, or business partner? And if so, why? So Sanjeev, I'll start with you here.
Um, you know the it is easy to turn down a customer if you feel your interests are not matching there. Okay, and if for any company to succeed, uh, they have to take you as a partner and you have to take them as a partner. They will be learning there. Okay, but if their interest is to get the most out of you and and suck you out, it's a matter of time when you're going to die. Okay, I personally feel that is probably, it is easy to rule out a partner there. From the investor perspective, obviously, with all due respect, right, you are there for a company and investor is there to make money. Okay, you may have other reasons to do what you're doing it, but when you take money from investor, you definitely want to protect their interest. Okay, but fundamentally, sometimes they, like they would say, they'll try to maximize their efforts, but at least you should be able to tell them, yeah, this is not the right thing for me at this point in time, or this is not my right focus. So means sometimes you have to take some hard decision, but in long run it might be good. As I said, there's no shortcut. And don't get into the desperate situation, but there you need a little bit of better planning, but have a confidence on yourself. I think that's the most important part, right? And if you trust yourself, if you have a confidence on yourself, right, and with a good mentorship around you, I think even if you have to take some tough decision of walking away from a customer or walking away from an investor, I think you should do that actually. Means don't look for any immediate gains which can hurt you in a long run. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Thank you, Sanjeev. Sam?
Yeah, I agree with Sanjeev. I think there's partners, there's investors, and there's customers. And the challenge with an investor is, if you take venture money, that's lighting a fuse that is, on a schedule to exit, and that can put pressure on you that maybe might cause you to make some sort of strategic decisions that are more in favor of the investor than maybe in the best interest of the company. So we don't take venture money. We self-fund our businesses because we want the control. But I'm not saying that's right for everybody. And in fact, we're a service business. It's easier to self-fund a service business than to self-fund a product company like what Sanjeev has. The second thing is, partners. It's important because of the nature of our business, which is all about sort of partnering with third parties to bring a total solution together for a client. It's important to pick the right partner with the right match of complementary skills and the right attitude. And so that's important. And then customers, we have on multiple occasions turned down customers. In fact, this week, sometimes, especially when you're in startup mode, your references are like gold. It's so important that every customer is a reference. And if we see a prospect who wants to do business with us, and we look at sort of the situation, which can be complex all around their environment, we might decide not to do business with them because the odds of getting a successful project and a successful reference are not good. So we narrowly focus on what we know we can do well, where we can add value to a client, and we immediately at the beginning of the relationship tell them we want you to be a reference. So all along the way, if at any point you don't feel like you could be a reference, tell us that. Not at the end when we need you to be a reference, but all along the way, so we can earn that reference at every step of the way. And I guess the last thing I would say is every company needs a growth plan. So for us, it's, simply put, we're going to the middle market, not AIG and State Farm and Allstate. We go into the middle of the insurance market where we can, slowly build our capabilities and our brand and our references. And then we turn up market to the top 50 later in our growth cycle. And so that's the strategic plan to acquire customers. Along the way, you get some opportunities. Maybe Geico calls you, as they did when we had T-Cube. They called us out of the blue. We didn't call them. And that's more of an opportunistic decision. It's not following your strategic growth plan. And so you have to make that on-the-fly call. Are you going to take the chance to go up market quickly and risk damaging your reputation? And I think the answer is different for everybody, but that's how we think about it anyway.
Very interesting. Thank you both for sharing that insight. I guess someone like me on the outside would have assumed you would just take money or partner with anyone. But it's interesting when your business ideals don't align, it really probably won't be the best move for you long term. So we're wrapping up now. My final question that I'll present to you both is, if you had to give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur, what would it be? Sanjeev, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. I think probably I will give a little bit more than one, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things which Sam mentioned already, on money will solve a lot of problems here. Okay, that is one thing. But second thing, which I learned the hard way, especially when you're doing the product part of it. A lot of times it becomes, even the customer comes and says, if you do this thing, I can write a contract, but you can get distracted from your product roadmap. Okay. I think somewhere you have to find a balance there. I would probably say this is one thing which I probably I learned the hard way. Actually, I should have probably put a parallel team to earn the dollar, but not lose the focus of your the main your main direction there. And the other thing, I'll be honest and be empathetic. I think that's very important here. Take care of employees, when they are really in need there. Okay, and these are the employees will go all out to make you successful. So I think that's what I would probably say. Be human more than what you just want to be in the process to earn money there. Okay, I think that would be my advice.
Nice, thank you. Sam?
Yeah, I think, like Sanjeev said, it's hard to narrow it down to one thing, but maybe a couple things. So one, treat people the way you would want to be treated. And that's whether you're selling, whether you're, hiring or managing employees, because, I mean, that just comes through, right? Just, be your authentic self and treat people the way you would want to be treated. And it draws people to you, both clients and employees, et cetera. Just in general, kind of getting a company going, I guess, what I would say is do it now, right? Don't wait till you're 29 years old like I am. Do it soon. Do it very early. Do it when you don't have, so much to risk, families and house and all that kind of stuff. Surround yourself with a good team, complementary skills. One of the best things I did at T-Cube was I realized I was better in the front office selling and delivering than in the back office, HR and that sort of thing. And so thankfully my wife came in and helped organize the back office. So teaming is important. And I said this earlier in the call, don't fall in love with your product, fall in love with business and your customers and delivering what they want. If you do that, they'll guide you on the product. And, candidly, what do you care what the product is, as long as it's something that is making your customer happy and making money for you? So let them guide you there a little bit. And to steal Nike's tagline, just do it. Just get out and do it.
Awesome. Well, this has been a wonderful discussion. Thank you, Sam and Sanjeev, both so much for taking time out of your day to just join us and share your experience as an entrepreneur with everyone on the call here. So yeah, it's been great. Thank you, Ryan. I will turn it over to you to wrap up.
Awesome. Thanks, Ferris. And we've got a little bit of time. Just sent a post in the chat. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask quickly, we've got a few minutes. We could open the floor to Sam and Sanjeev. So I'll wait and see if anybody wants to jump in, or if you want to post a question in the chat, we can ask real quick.
Hey, Ryan, while you're doing that, I just wanted to comment that when you put this together and I met Sanjeev and immediately recognized the business that he is in the same ecosystem I'm in. So already just that connection is giving us what I hope is going to be an opportunity for us to distribute or sell, implement Sanjeev's subrogation product into our client base.
I think in any business to succeed, networking is very important. Okay. Yeah. And Ryan, thank you for enabling us to get in touch with Sam and Marty, who got us connected there. I really appreciate it. And I would say probably from anybody's perspective, if you want to be successful in any business, right, you cannot underestimate the importance of networking. I think that is the key part of your success here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And the common thread here, Marty Street, who is, I believe, is on the call too. I met her through another connection here in the Columbia area, and I met her at the Insurtech Connect conference in Vegas a year or two ago. And so, at the end of the day, it's all about building these relationships and the opportunities that we derive from them. At the end of the day, so it's great to get out. It's great to have these opportunities to meet people. You never know kind of where these threads are going to come back together at. So we always encourage folks, to go out, meet new folks, learn about what they're doing. And, who knows, maybe you wind up doing business at some point down the road together too. There's plenty of opportunities out there. You've just got to be willing to kind of turn over some rocks and look for them. And sometimes you're playing the long game on those too.
Hey, Ryan, I saw Hunter Griffin's question. Could we ask that? I'd love to answer that one.
Yes, sir. So Hunter's question posed to both of you. Were there any times in your startup journey where you had doubts you would succeed?
Yeah, this one is particularly close to home for me. When I first started T-Cube, there were 3 employees in Colombia, and we had a team of maybe 40 in Bhubaneswar, India. And I went out on the road. I think it was like the first or second sales call, and I flew somewhere, and I don't even remember who it was, but it didn't go well. And I knew we weren't going to get the business from whoever this was. And I came back, flew back to town, and I came into the office, and I walked into the office, and there were 3 employees there, and I looked at them, and all of a sudden, in my mind, I thought, oh, wow, what if this doesn't work? I've convinced these guys to leave great, jobs where they had a safe career path. Now they've joined this little startup, and I didn't sell, and we're going to go out of business. And that pang of fear lasted about 30 seconds. And then I never thought about it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you said that right, Sam. I think I would say, there's always, you have that iota of the suspicion whether you're in the right direction, whether you have the right product market fit or whatever. But somehow, as an entrepreneur, you have to be optimistic. There have to be optimism, and you have to have a confidence. I think that is one main thing which people have to have it. Come what may, I'll find a way to succeed, right? As I said, right, I was selling something else, but I sold something else, which was probably one of the biggest deals that I sold in my life. But fundamentally, I think you will always have it, okay? Especially when you're on the bleeding edge, you're on the cutting edge part of it. You'll always think, right, are you too early to the market? And trust me, 8 out of 10 times as a startup, you are too early into the market there. And I have seen this thing personally. What Salesforce is talking about, customer 360 or customer experience management. I did that in 2002, 2003. Okay, but the team lost their patience. Okay, and come in 2018, 19, we had companies who were going for the $1 billion exit in the same space there. So yes, there would be a doubt, but it's important to at least put the team together, stay together. And I think you will succeed, but there will always be a fear. What if you don't do it? But you go with your gut, and you just keep moving forward. If you keep doing it, something will happen. I can tell you, may not what you have thought of it before, but it will come in some other direction, but you will succeed. I can at least, that's the confidence that I feel people should have it if they're trying to do a startup there.
Ryan, I would say, everybody probably has pangs of doubt at some point, but, to Sanjeev's point, well, you push back that very quickly. And because, I know I have the ability to deliver in this business. So, you might have a temporary pang of fear or something, but then you quickly remember, I know how to do this and I've done it, and you move on.
Awesome. Thank you both. Check in chat real quick. Hunter, thanks y'all for the question. Congratulations to you both. Marty, to everyone, excellent insights from Sam and Sanjeev. Great questions. Thank you all. So barring that, no more questions. We're going to start to wind things down here real quick. We've got a little fun thing that we have kind of introduced at the end of these. The theme for these panels was to be a lunch and learn. And I think given, if the It's Cola Talent Group had their way, we would all be doing this in person over lunch. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. And so the talent committee came up with the idea that in the theme of keeping with lunch, we wanted to present some gift certificates to some of our attendees who joined us. So we've got 2 gift cards we'd like to give out to 2 of our participants. And Sam and Sanjeev, I'm going to ask y'all to do the honors of selecting a number 1 through 33. And I will use that number along with the participant box over here to determine who our lucky raffle winners are. So Sam, what number do you pick?
I'm going to go with my age, 29.
Yeah. Okay. If we're following the same track, I'll go 22. How's that?
All right. So we have Margaret Jones and Tiffany Glenn are our lucky winners today. So Margaret, Tiffany, I've got y'all's email. I will follow back up with you both after this and make sure that we've get y'all those gift certificates. Got a couple more comments coming in. Thanks for everybody for sharing. So, okay, good deal. Well, we appreciate Sam, Sanjeev. Thank you both very much for participating today. I know y'all are very busy, have a lot of work in front of y'all as entrepreneurs. We are incredibly thankful for you for taking your time out of your day to share your thoughts, insights, experiences with us. As always, thank you, Ferris, for being our moderator today and for being a great member of our talent panel as well. And on behalf of It's Cola, if you'd like to learn more about the organization, you can go to the website www.itscola.com or visit us on any of our social media channels on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. We will have one more panel coming up in July. That will be Tuesday, July 27th, and that will be our executives panel, which will close out our summer Lunch and Learn series, followed by an in-person networking event here in Columbia, either late August or early September. Details on that to come. Check out our social media and website to stay posted on that. Other than that, thank you all very much for joining us, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting it,
Thank you,
Ryan.
Chris.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.